This week we've got the first round of the Pro Rock Series at Dirty Turtle, the first round of IXCR at the Attica Badlands, and round 3 of LACC at Raspberry Lake. Strap in as we bring you up to the race pace. Everybody, and welcome back to Race Pace, sponsored by CW Motorsports. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And we had a really busy weekend this weekend. We talked about it on the last show that we had LACC, Pro Rock, and IXCR, and all three events did not disappoint. We're going to jump right in first down south in the LACC event, and our buddy Bubba Belair down there comes out on top once again.
He's kind of like our unofficial field reporter for the South, isn't he?
He is, actually. In fact, they have not posted results yet. They do have official results because they've been printed out and they've handed out trophies, but they don't have them on their website. And my man got us some screenshots of the official results, so we actually know what happened.
Yep.
So we sound like we're talking intelligently here, but... So let's do a quick run down the list here real quick. In UTVA Turbo, you had Chris Boyette in first place, David Brock comes in second, and Jubal Cheatwood comes in third. UTVA Naturally Aspirated, we had Brian Peck in first, April Duke in second, and Richard Carter in third.
Yeah.
And UTV B Turbo, where Bubba lives, he's down there. Came down in first with 17 laps in the book. We'll talk about that in a second.
17 laps.
17 laps.
Okay.
In
Moving
1
on,
hour.
we'll come back.
And second place was Tyler Boulay, turned 4 laps, and then Chris Fontaine turned, looks like 3 laps, came in third place. And then UTVB Naturally Aspirated, we got Rachel Cheatwood in first with Travis Bushnell in second and Jessica Morris in third.
Yeah.
Glad to see some ladies out there racing.
They have some awesome names down there. I'll tell you that. We don't have the cool names up here.
I know, the Cheatwoods. Well, I like the fact that you got Rachel running UTVB Naturally Aspirated. And then up there in UTVA Turbo, you've got Jubal. So I don't know if that's a husband and wife combo or brother-sister, but they share a name, so I'm guessing there's some sort of relationship there.
And who's ever heard of the name Jubal? I mean, I have because I've heard of him, but I mean, other than him.
It's not a real popular northern...
It's a cool name, though.
United States name. I actually met one person named Jubal, but I can't remember where they're from. I don't even think they're from the U.S., actually.
Huh.
Yeah. No, they've got some cool names down there for sure.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a rundown of the series down there. They had an extremely short track. I mean, I think that's probably selling it short.
17 laps there, Bubba. Dang.
Just foot to the throttle the entire time. I mean, I don't know if he ever had to lift. So
That'd
he was
be a 1 mile loop or something.
I know. I'm just picturing this in my head, and it's like they're running on the Pee Wee track up here.
Yeah.
But he said, honestly, that was the shortest course that he has run since he's been involved in that series.
Yeah.
So
now, I don't know if he sent you the picture, but he sent it to me, and we'll try and get it up here. I guess he left his CVT's intake tube at home.
Yes, he did.
So did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, he kind of had to cut a motor oil quart bottle and fashion a new one.
Got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I had to fix a bearing cap on my camper one time with a water bottle and some duct tape. So
things happen, huh?
Whatever gets you through.
Yep.
But he still came out victorious there, turned 17 laps with his motor oil cover fashioned from, whatever parts he had laying around.
Yep. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of coughing a bit. I'm trying to not be sick here.
It's not working.
I'm not sick. No, I'm not. I'm fine.
We are
perfectly fine.
No. We are suffering for the art here. Or I don't know if this is art.
Something. It's something. So...
But it was a very short, very muddy, and very rutted track. Because you can imagine if they're turning 17, 18, I'm guessing, let's see, UTVA Turbo. Yeah, they all turned 17 laps as well, so that was the most. But you can imagine how rutted out that course was. All these big turbo machines turning 17 laps. So,
yeah, that's just going to dig holes. I mean...
and not a lot of passing room. So it was basically you kind of found a position, and it was just follow the leader.
Follow the leader, hope
for
someone breaks in front of you so you can have their position.
Yeah, pretty much. So
Yeah.
it's actually Steve Mueller's kind of race, a war of attrition. He's just going to outlast him.
Yeah. So, but Steve, moving on to him, I guess, we might as well. He hit Pro Rock this weekend.
Yeah, we had a few of our racers down there at the Pro Rock Series. We had Devin Smith and Steve Mueller were the two that ran it, but we had a few other people that showed up just to cheer them on.
Right.
So Friday qualifying. We'll start there.
Steve, so let's start out. It was at Dirty Turtle down there in, I think it's Hebron, Kentucky is where it's at. Mm-hmm. But it's in Kentucky anyway. They had snow. They were getting the snow and everything that we were getting at the same time. So Steve, did Steve or Devin run first? Steve ran first.
Steve was dead last, actually. He was like
no,
last
his qualifying.
GTV. Yeah.
No, that was. We'll get to that. He ran first before Devin.
Okay.
But the timer messed up because of the snow, and they don't use transponders for their timing, like at least in their qualifying. No. And big fat snowflakes coming through, it tripped it, and they thought that Steve was a snowflake, and.
No comment.
Yeah. So he had to rerun his qualifying after it messed up and the snowflake triggered his lap time. So he said his first lap, it felt like it was better. His second one, he ended up qualifying, was it 14th or something? Is that?
Yeah, I'm looking at his race
Maybe
report right now. And
it was deeper than that.
He ended up being 15th in row 3.
Okay, 15th. So he wasn't too bad, but still. He had a few issues during the race. Just new machine, new bugs. He had some issues prior to qualifying, but it ended up during the race. He blew a coolant hose off because the clamps weren't tight, and it just puked all the fluid out right there. So.
And it's just one of those freak things. You could spend weeks thinking you checked everything, and you could miss something that small. I mean, it happens. New machine bugs.
Yeah, because I mean, you would have thought, well, why wouldn't it have blown during qualifying or something else?
Yeah,
but
where he was trying to climb up what they were kind of basically dubbing Ice Mountain. So he was under throttle trying to scramble up this really slippery surface. So you're kind of at max.
Right.
Coolant pressure at that point. It was just enough to pop it.
Right. But I would have thought that it would have built enough pressure because he was on the gas full throttle for qualifying too, throughout most of it. But, it just didn't. It is what it is.
Bad luck.
So then we got to Devin's. Devin was the absolute last to run. Well, qualifying. No, he wasn't. Steve was. I was reading. But anyway, Devin gets out there. And his machine goes into limp mode during qualifying. So,
yeah,
not good.
Just turned out to be a tuning issue that was pretty easily remedied, but it put Devin way back there. So he's back in row 5. I mean, he's at the back of the pack.
Right. So, amazingly enough, and Devin came through with great driving skill and everything else, he ends up second place.
This dude, I'm telling you.
Yeah. I mean, that he passed, what was it, 30-something people? 30 people?
Yeah, he had a lot of ground that he made up in a really short amount of time.
Now, first place had a good gap on him. It was minutes. That guy was just moving. Devin even said he just wasn't going to catch him.
Yeah, top 3 was Jay Shaw, Devin Smith, and Jamie McCoy, and Jay Shaw actually lapped Devin. So yeah. Devin made up all that time. It's not like he was moving slow. He got all the way back up to second, but he still got lapped. So Jay was just absolutely putting on a show out there.
Right. And congratulations to all of them. But, man, it's like we talked about last week when I was talking about Jason Weller going from, 58th position in King of Hammers up to finishing 8th or something like that, whatever it was. I mean, it's just determination and just grinding out miles and making passes as much as you can.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and give a shout out to Jason Wolf as well. He put on a heck of a show out there, and he was actually in first place, lost four-wheel drive in his buggy, and unfortunately the conditions down there were really slick because they had snow on top of a thin layer of mud that was over basically frozen ground, so it was just really slick. And without four-wheel drive, he just didn't have a prayer of keeping up the pace. But he was looking really good out there, was running first, and unfortunately mechanical failure took him back out of it.
Yep. So, congratulations to all the guys. It sounds like a lot of people did really well. That Ice Mountain was kind of a big equalizer to a lot of people, though.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually really excited to see some of these new Pro XPs like Steve Mueller is running out there. I've seen a few of them now. There's a few of them at IXCR that we're going to get to in a minute or so here, but I'm curious to see how they do. I don't think even Polaris was marketing this as a X3 killer. It was just a machine that was more in that style.
Right.
So nobody, the people who are coming out saying it was an X3 killer, I'm like, I'd never even really heard Polaris use that language. It was just the next evolution of the, that machine. So I'm curious to see how they hold up, how they do this season. I mean, they definitely have the makings of a very impressive machine, and from what I've seen from Side by Side Blog and other places like that, they look like they're really planted. They corner a lot more level. The handling is more in line with what you get out of an X3. So, once we get the first couple races in the books here, people get the kinks worked out of them because they're kind of a brand new unknown in some regards. We'll see what they do.
Yep. So we had made mention last week that Devin was going to Ironman it and go from Pro Rock up to IXCR and run. Well, that didn't end up happening. I mean, he did make it up to IXCR. He decided not to run.
He co-drove for his son. I mean, that's cool.
He did. He made it in time to co-drive for his son. And I want to come back to that here in just a minute. But before we get really into the race stuff of IXCR, the buggy was just coated in about 200 pounds or better of mud. And he said he was just beat up and he was done.
Yeah.
So he decided not to. But what we were kind of referencing there, where Devin got to ride with his son, man, it just made me kind of smile and think of the race community when you talk about Devin was down south in Kentucky racing. So Michael Plank went and got Devin's son's Razor 570 that he's racing this year, picked it up, brought his son's helmet and the buggy and all that stuff because the kids were with their mom, and brought it all to the track so Devin could meet him there so that he could race. I was like, that's the race community right there. They'll go out of their way to go make sure that your kid can race and that you can be there too and still not miss your race.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing.
It was really neat. And Mike Plank didn't race or anything. He just came there to do that for Devin. I mean, and hang out and watch the race. That's all he really did.
He's now officially Devin's pit crew.
Yeah, he is. Well, Devin's son, Brody's pit crew.
Okay, whatever. And Brody did pretty good. Ended up second place.
He did. That was pretty good. Devin rode shotgun because in that class they have to have a adult co-driver with them.
Yeah.
But he did pretty good. He got second. I heard Devin needs to work on his co-pilot skills. He was busy playing on his phone doing a live stream instead of giving good directions or something.
You have to do the hand waving. They don't know where to go if you don't do the hand waving.
The knife hand, as Spangler called it.
The knife hand, and then if you're just pointing, it's okay. You got to go that way. If you're pointing frantically, it's like you really need to go that way.
Really, yeah.
Like now.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, for those of you that aren't sure what we're talking about, youth driving UTVs, that sounds insane. IXCR has actually introduced a basically Pee-wee and a youth series, just like AXCC has now. So IXCR is running basically, I think it's a 210cc cap.
200 or 210, something
200
like
or 210, something like that. Well, yeah, you can run a 200 in there. I don't think you can, run some of these Chinese ones now are up to 250. I don't think you can run those in the IXCR series.
Right, you have to stay under that.
But so they have that series for the younger kids, and then you get up in the youth, and they are running the 50-inch wide 570s. So it's really neat to see that the series are realizing that kids are coming up in these machines, that quads are still around, dirt bikes are still around, but there's another generation of racers that are coming up with UTVs. I mean, they're growing up with them, and they want to race them. So I think it's great that we're starting to encourage that early, and IXCR has taken a lead in promoting that this year.
Yeah, I agree. So ton of fun. But this weekend was IXCR out at the Badlands in Attica, Indiana. So that's where the race was, and really the only way that they can get by running it is at this early anyway, is having it at the Badlands because it's all sand.
Yeah. And they're set up. They've got ample parking. I mean, they're an off-road park. They're designed to handle the volume of people they typically get there. So it's a really good setup for early in the year where, again, most of these races are run in farmers' fields. So if you're parking in a field, and that means you're getting stuck. So at a place like this where they have hard pack parking and places to be and they're set up for it, it's a really nice. It's basically the only way you can do UTVs this early in the year.
Right.
And so, that's a big gamble. I mean,
it is.
Basically, the end of February, you could be in a blizzard. I mean, it happened to be 35 degrees and sunny, but that's a real dice roll.
They've had like 6 inches of snow, and they race in it anyway.
Yeah. Yep. Well, XC Racing, it's whatever Mother Nature hands you.
Pretty much. They had a good turnout. They had 50-something, 50...
58
52?
58 entries for big boy side-by-side. So there was 58 in adult side-by-side, and then there's only 3 in youth, and I think there was 6 or 7 in the Pee-wee or micro, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, IXCR has not posted officials yet, so we can't get you the officials on the youth, but we do have a screenshot of officials from the adults, so we'll run those down here in just a second.
I think they still call the 170s youth, but they call the 570s youth senior.
Yeah, they do. That's right. So it's youth junior and youth senior.
Yeah. So, but hey, I'm thrilled that they have a class for them.
Yep.
So on to the big ones there at IXCR, the full-grown adult toys.
Running down the top 10 here real quick overall. So this is a mix of your heavy pro mods and single pro and all that stuff. Mitch Langford takes the top honors, followed up by Dwight Pollard in second, Drew Moore in third, Ty Phillips and Matt Lithgow round out the top 5, and then you got Mitch Wolford, Koei Sequoy, Bruce, I can't read that last name. Looks like Barnjum in 8th, John Barnes in 9th, and Kyle Nosp in 10th. And so you got a mix there of heavy pro mods, single pros. Actually, the top 10 were all either, it looks like there's 3 singles and the rest were all heavy pro mods.
Yeah.
There was a couple Yamahas represented. 7th and 8th place were Yamaha.
The thing with the Yamahas, they do okay in the Badlands because it's pretty open.
Yeah.
You get them in tight stuff, and they just don't do as well.
They're just harder to drive in that.
On a short course, they're great.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But, yeah, good job out there, man. Langford and Dwight Pollard, they were just screaming out there. They were moving. Those two were just running back and forth for the whole race, and there was quite a separation between them and everybody else.
Yeah, elapsed times, Mitch finished in 54 minutes, 49 seconds, and looks like Pollard was 6 seconds behind him. Yeah. And then the gap to the next one is basically 50 seconds ahead of Drew Moore. So they were fighting it, and then almost a minute behind is third place.
Yeah. They were just moving. I rode out there with Barry Miller, and we didn't do so well. I didn't do any of that.
Your very presence, as we've discussed on other shows, breaks machines.
I don't think I did it. I was sitting calmly in the passenger seat.
I don't feel like you did this one either. Actually, for once, I'm going to have to give you a pass on breaking machines.
Yeah. So we started off, and Barry and I were talking about this in messages today. He started off really well. Like, the machine fired quick, and he's in a brand new 2020 X3. Tuned and, decked out to the nines. We've showed pictures of it before. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Fully built machine.
So we started out really well, and Barry was kind of focusing on driving, making it to the first corner, and we were the innermost car to the corner, which typically isn't really the best, but it's the spot we got. So it's, what we were dealing with. But we had about a quarter car length on the car next to us, and they came into us pretty hard. And what happened was it knocked Barry's power steering out of calibration. We're pretty sure that's what happened. So we were going to be either first or second when everybody filed in line after the first corner. It ended up we were like almost dead last in our row, or next to last in our row, because we had to pull over, shut the car off, and try to reset the power steering, trying to get it back up and going. Barry fought through. We only got one lap, and he was just wore out at the end of that lap. It was bad.
Yeah, because it seemed
the power
like
steering was going
it wasn't
in and
just
out.
the power steering being gone; it was actually fighting him.
Yeah, it was actually like turning back the other way, and it was a bear. So, but I'll give you the whole rundown of the single lap that we got to do anyway. The car's a monster. It's got tons of power, and on the frozen ground, because there's still some frozen spots there where we were down like in the valleys and stuff. There's just no traction in that. Barry got his suspension done by G-Force, which Gary does great suspension, but he was testing it out in the whoops on the backside, and we both knew we were in trouble when the back end kicked up so high that the front bumper dug in and threw a big, veiled curtain of dirt in front of us, and then the back end just hammered hard down, and it hit hard enough to blow the window net right out of my side.
Yeah.
That one hurt a bit.
I remember seeing you guys go by, and I was like, where's this net?
It had fallen out, so I reached out and grabbed it and pulled it in, just so it didn't get ripped off or anything. I was like, well, at least tuck it in.
Yeah.
That was a hard one. Barry said his eyes were the size of dinner plates as the back end bucked up that high. So, but we survived. We made a lap, and by the time we got back, when we stopped, because it was cold out, Barry, he had taken his goggles off, and for at least 5 or 10 minutes, steam was rolling out of his helmet where his goggles were, because he was just sweating from fighting that car the whole time.
Yeah.
So,
no, I remember when you guys pulled in, he was just dripping. I mean, it shows you how hard he was working to try and bring that thing to heel, and it just wasn't having it. Was not his day.
We just weren't making corners, and normally Barry doesn't miss corners like that.
Yeah.
We would have to 3-point turn several of them because the steering would be working fine, and he would be able to turn, and then he'd go to make the last little bit of the turn in to make the corner, and the machine would start fighting him all of a sudden. So there's nothing he could do about it, and we just pulled over after we crossed the finish line for the one lap. I got out and looked because we didn't know at first, is something really bent or something wrong, like that we don't know. So, but it ends up it was something inside the power steering box that we couldn't do anything about there. So we called it after one lap.
Yep, unfortunate end of the day, and just like the end of your day, we are actually at the end of our time here. We did want to do one last little note. We did impromptu surveys of a lot of the UTVs we saw this weekend at various races, and just a plea from us here at Eminent Performance: make sure your machine is ready to race for your own safety and everyone else's out there. We saw some infractions that honestly, in a pretty plausible race situation, would have been extremely dangerous. So just, basics: window nets, harnesses, fire extinguishers. Make sure you have the gear you need to be safe out there for your own sake and for everybody else that's racing with you.
Yeah, read the rules, follow them. I mean, if you have a question, message the owners or throw a message on the Facebook page of the race series, and most people will answer it for you. But I'm just going to say, don't show up in a stock machine with stock cage, stock 3-point seatbelt, no window nets, like some people happened to this weekend.
It's asking for trouble that nobody needs out there.
Very true. Also, Cam Mapes, he got not so good. He tore up the back end.
If he would have just kept that rear wheel on, it would have been fine. Broke a radius rod and decided to do another lap, dragging the poor rear wheel behind him, but just was not his weekend either.
Yep, such is life. So there's some other guys. Maybe we'll try and get some more pictures if we can get them and throw them in just a little bit. But yeah, it was pretty good weekend for most guys. You just had some rough luck.
Absolutely. Well, we do want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. Of course, CW Motorsports, who is our title sponsor for the show this year. We also want to throw out a shout to 834 Powder Coat, who's come on this year to back us up. We've got Watch Communications and Spangs Fab. If you want to get a hold of us, you can do so in a variety of ways. You can find our website at eminentperformance.com. We're also very active on Facebook and Instagram. Both of those are /Eminent Racing. And we'll try and, once officials are posted, we'll get those thrown out on the website. If they get posted tomorrow, it'll probably beat this podcast, but we'll make sure that we post them there on Facebook. So if you're looking for them, you can find them easily enough.
Yep.
And make sure to subscribe. And once you do subscribe, there should be a little bell, and that little bell will indicate that there is a new show. So click that bell, and every week you get more of this goodness. Plus, we tend to throw out tech tips and some other things that come along as well.
Yep, we're going to try to do more stuff like the tech tips and things like that, just as we come across things that we think, would benefit everyone to have a little video. Try and keep them pretty short.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, thanks for riding along with us, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.